Well, I'll get back to Abuja for the annual directors conference.
How do you solve this problem? You provide means or adequate means to finance. Now, banks, they keep inviting banks to conferences. Banks can't fund mining. They have short-term funding. They don't have long-term funding. So what needs to be happening is there has to be further engagement with the Securities and Exchange Commission. There's something in the law, the Investment and Securities Act, called the Collective Investment Scheme. And that provides a subset where you can have specialized funds. The challenge with that is we cannot find the expertise to write, like, with SEC, you need to have an investment memorandum. Yeah, so you cannot cut and paste that from a Canadian jurisdiction or an Australian. You have to customize it. SEC needs to see that you've customized it to your local market. And that talent, I'm glad we started with talent. That talent is not really here. So I think that in terms of connecting governance, corporate governance to mining and incentivizing it, the first thing that needs to be looked into is how the Securities and Exchange Commission can get involved. When people need money, we'll find out that they follow the rules. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. And in fact, that is very, very fundamental. And also we could pick that from the presentation by our speaker, that good corporate governance give opportunity to agri-techs to access funds that, of course, and enable them to also develop within that space. So we have time only for 2 questions. I will take one from this side of the hall and another one from this side. And then we wrap up this session. So thank you so very much. Any either question or comment? One from this side, okay. 2 hands up, and let me take one. So you will speak for the 2 of you. Maybe you ask him what he has in mind. We can speak for the 2 of you. All right. Okay, because they are sitting together. That's why I...
All right, thank you. My name is Dr. Nikki Okoye, and most of the folks here are old colleagues. I have a comment, and I think the comment might stimulate a question. We talked about mining and agriculture in excessive deep senses. One of the issues that I have with our people here in Nigeria and across the African continent is that we don't do enough to prepare ourselves for the opportunities that we have in our economy. I'll give you a typical example. In Germany, at secondary school level, 12, 13, 14-year-olds, there is a subject on mining that young German children are learning about mining, but they don't have mines in Germany for the most part. Most of those mines are in Africa. Everything I learned about agriculture, for instance, I learned it long after my schooling days. There is no course in secondary school or in university, except you're studying agriculture, that teaches us about these resources that we have in our country and across the continent. It's not just a problem with Nigeria, it's across the African continent. So we're not preparing ourselves for our own resources. We talk about the new generation, where the economy is going in terms of electric vehicles and alternative fuel, but all that is going to depend on lithium-ion batteries, which is in abundance in Nigeria and in Congo or in Angola. So how come we're not preparing for this economy? It's incredible, and I think that if any of the panelists can address this, do we need to take specific look at the curriculums again so that we can prepare if we have lost this generation? Let's say we've lost this generation, but let's not lose the generation coming after us. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I'm sure one of the panelists will respond to that. Any question from this? Okay, your hand is up.
I'm Sholai Frimoluanuga. I'm a lawyer, governing council member. I would like to ask a question relating to what one of the speakers spoke about how we can actually leverage on our coast and how we can leverage on tourism. And the question that comes to mind is that, is government not provoking, like Macbeth would say, provoking the desire for taking away the performance? Because when you look at security, go to the coast, if you go to Eleko Beach or thereabout, you see some young ones on the beach, and sometimes you are afraid. But you go to other countries, things that do not really matter much. I was in Paris a few weeks ago. You see them put a boat by the Eiffel Tower. They put a boat ride on it, and then you ride on that boat. They tell you some things that you see by the side of the boat, and then they turn around and turn back. Almost 20,000 naira. You know, and yet we have something in Nigeria that we can actually sell, but you can't get there. So I think, yes, blue economy, yes, we've been stimulated about what we can make from it, but there are fundamentals which I think we need to get right. Then finally, on the other thing about SEC, I think we need to explore, discuss with SEC, that is my area, crowdfunding for mining. Mining is something that we need, like you have said, we have not scratched the surface. So if we understand it more, and it's an engagement I love to have, and it's an engagement I think SEC should be called into, you know, so that we can have an integrated approach and ensure that this something is really being mined. But it's good discussion to keep having. Thank you.
Thank you so very much. It seems to me that both interventions are more of comments than questions. So unless Tony has anything to say to that, because, yeah, that first comment by Nicholas.
Okay, so the first thing about, I think the comment made about the curriculum. So let's break it down very, very quickly. In secondary school, there are certain courses you do that would expose you to the chemistry of mineralization. You know, it's just a periodic table. Minerals is the periodic table, from hydrogen straight to lead. I mean, if you know the periodic table and you understand stoichiometry in chemistry, a lot of it is easier to understand. That's one. As you leave secondary school and go into university, we have certain schools that offer mining engineering courses. But will Nigerians go through the route of exploration to mine plan and design? Maybe not likely. Maybe Bua for limestone, maybe Dangote, who have to operate above board, but they make up the 2%. So in answer to your question, we do have the curriculum. There's the Nigerian Institute of Mining and Geosciences, but let me just answer straight the solution. We do not have any mineral reporting code in sub-Saharan Africa. Now, what does this mean? No matter the fund you raise for mining projects, you must bring an Australian or a Canadian to endorse your report.
That's it.
And now you have the Council of Mining Engineers and Geoscientists having over 4,000 members who are not credible enough to get you a bankable report. Where's the motivation there? Sometimes they are more brilliant than the Canadians and the Australians, but they cannot stamp the same report that they did 90% of the work on. Now, what's the solution to that? CRISCO. It's a Committee for Mineral Resources and Standards Organization. So what CRISCO does is CRISCO has a template for mineral reporting. Any country that's going to be a member of CRISCO, it means that you are following the template. The last country to register was India last year. Why is Nigeria not a member? Maybe people in the Ministry of Mines and Steel can answer. Oh, sorry, there's no mines and steel anymore. There's solid mineral development, and then there's steel development. So maybe the Minister of Steel, Solid Mineral Development will be able to answer why having the World Bank as your neighbor, because the World Bank's office is right behind the Ministry of Solid Minerals. So how come they don't know that you have 4,000 COMED members who can't get jobs because no one is going to take their report to any bank, any financial institution? It will generate zero cover. So this is a fundamental problem that once you have our co-made members able to do exploration programs that you can take to the venture exchange. You keep talking about Segilola. Everywhere in the world we go as Nigeria is one project, Segilola. How? It's simply because Segilola got funding from TOR, which is the Toronto Venture Exchange. We have a Nigerian commodity exchange. What's going on with that? So fundamentally, the Ministry of Solid Mineral Development, the Ministry of Industry, Trade and Investment have to step up. Because our NCX, let me just leave that.
Thank you so very much. Final
Thank
one.
you. Audibly, because he mentioned.
Just
Okay, quick
a
one.
minute.
Thanks. Sorry, Dr. Adesupe. I know we're in a haste to go, but that's the problem of over syllabus. I was told to prepare a paper. I didn't know it's going to be a discussion. so I will just take it from the first question, which is very clear. It has to start from the curriculum. It has to. And you rightly said it. We don't even have the prerequisite environment for that. So most of our seafarers, as I speak to you, are trained. 2,500 are trained outside this country. We spend so much in terms of foreign exchange, and that's why we're trying to localize it, beginning from the pioneering of the Nigerian Maritime University. As I speak to you, we also have the Maritime Academy, and I know if there are people here who own universities, check 99% of them don't even have any marine course on their curriculum. So we need to start from that stage. Like I said, as I speak to you, I have countries writing us. Gambia, Marad, have written us to say they need our support to train their people locally. So it starts from there. You are right. So government and the private sector could do something. Then he said something beautiful. Some of us have been to Paris, so he spoke to what all of us know. They collect all those 20 euros from us, and it pains me when you convert it. You know how much they got for just strolling around the water to look at the tire field. That is a typical example of the huge potential you have in the maritime sector. Because we don't have time.